Hello, friends. Welcome to the Nope Coach podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Kohlberg, welcoming back Rebecca Van Damm. Today, we are picking up where we left off. So we did the previous episode. If you haven't listened to it yet, stay here with us now. Go back, catch it later. But Rebecca made an offhand comment that I was like, oh my goodness, I needed a whole episode about this, about the difference between marketing versus serving. So for many of us, service-based businesses, we have our niche or our modality or the people that we help with what it is that we do. And then there's the marketing to bring people in and to let them know what we do and to attract best fit clients and that sort of thing. And sometimes we can get stuck. And how did you word it before we hit record? It was so good about, are you overgiving in your own business? I hand it over to you.
Are you overgiving to your own business? Yeah.
Yes, because it's kind of like, and when we say this, if you're listening and you're not familiar with either our work, we don't mean to waste, in my opinion, waste time going, what do I say for free? And what do I keep behind the firewall? And what do, like, I just think that that's a whole other conversation. But what we're meaning more is, if you're spending all of your time marketing and being on social media and being responsive and answering emails and DMs and WhatsApps and all of these things, then how much time, space, ability, capacity, or the other thing for marketing could actually be things like coffee chats and connecting with other networking. Like, if you're spending all the time working on the business, then you also don't have time to work in the business and do what it is that you actually love, which is why I hope that you got into business in the first place.
That's the whole thing, is that we lose sight. It does not take long for a small business to lose sight of why they started the business in the first place. It can happen faster than you think. And you get into it. I mean, even if you're a massage therapist, someone who is very clearly in a service role where you're serving people. There's tons of examples of this, but sooner or later, our focus can shift to all marketing all the time. And maybe it's a little bit of serving clients, but it's mostly, how do I make social media work? How do I make blogs work? How do I get more people on my email list? How do I do this or that? And before you know it, you're learning a whole new profession, which is the profession of marketing. And that's not why you started your business in the first place.
And also, sometimes we don't know which thing works, because with marketing, as much as we see all the gurus telling us just do this, just do this, just do this, because they've had success with that, and maybe they've just had a one-off success and they're not actually factoring in the biggest thing, which sometimes is luck. We might quit too soon, or we might, we can burn ourselves out. So it's like, how long are things going to take? Like, SEO or podcasting or YouTube, they're longer term gains. I like these things because they have a long half-life. Like, people still find me where I guested on podcasts back in 2020, and it's amazing because it's searchable. Reels or things, they might have a shorter half-life. Yes, you can repost them and you can repurpose, and I know that this is the work that you do, just because I remember I attended something of yours once. I can't remember the context, but you were teaching, from this little piece of content you can get so much. It can be this many reels, this many posts, this many carousels. Like, I don't know all the lingo, but if we're in either constant, when I say marketing, like creation marketing, like it needs to be new, it needs to be fresh, instead of, okay, what collateral do I have and how can I best repurpose this? That is a whole different ball game. And then we're thinking it needs to be new all the time.
Yeah, I think about that. There are so many marketing gurus out there, and there is a lot of, it worked for me, so it could work for you. And I just think, what if doctors said that to us? If they're like, I took this pill and it fixed me, instead of using their expertise to look at the whole person and the whole system, going off of what has worked for someone, or taking someone's word for it that it has worked for them and barreling forward in that direction, it doesn't always work. And I think people kind of stay, we're all kind of a deer in headlights with all of the different competing information that we get, and it can keep us in how to tutorial workshop zone where we just keep trying to learn and learn and learn and learn without doing. But 99% of marketing is trial and error. Like you said, how do we know if it's going to work? Well, you don't. So you've got to throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks. There are some overarching principles that are always going to be true. You do need to know your target market, and you know, people squirm and thrash and resist when you say target market because they're like, oh, I don't know. And maybe you don't know yet because you haven't served clients. So it's okay. But, you know, as you're going along in your business, it's going to benefit you to narrow down who you're talking to and to really hit home what they're struggling with, how you can help them, and where they want to be. These are tried and true principles that are just true across the board. But these like very specific tactics that are like, if you do this, that, like have this exact blueprint, you know, I don't know, it doesn't all work. But I want to say one other thing. You were saying, you were talking about like actually going and talking to people. And I do want to talk about frogs versus spiders, which you have heard me talk about before, Suzanne, but I'll just mention it is people really underestimate the power of the frog. So if a spider is someone who builds a web and waits for the flies to come, that represents marketing, and it's very important, but it's a long game. It takes relationship building, it takes consistency, it takes having the right web for the right flies. Frogs go stick their tongue out and grab the fly. They represent sales, and sales is literally just having conversations with people and talking about what you're passionate about and what you do and letting people know and building those one-on-one relationships. Those kinds of things are timeless. Getting just in front of people and telling people about your business and what you care about, that's timeless. You don't have to take a workshop to do that. You just have to know who you are, what you do, who you serve, and tell people. That's really all you have to do. And our mentor, Tad Hargrave, often says people go to social media to hide, as in they post something like they're throwing a hand grenade and then they run and then they just kind of wait and see what happens. And it's not the most effective tactic. It's actually getting in front of people and having real conversations is going to do more for your business than anything else.
There's so much I want to say to this. Like, we could talk all day, but first thing, you mentioned Tad Hargrave. I was going to mention him too with a different quote of his. When you said people consuming how-to videos, because like we've all been there, and then we tell ourselves we're working on our business when we're not. Like, really, we're not actually doing anything, but we tell ourselves we are. But Tad said once, or I've heard him say more than once, we can control how much we consume, but we can't control how much we digest. So we can consume all these how-to videos, but the digestion happens when you actually go and action the how-to videos and then go, oh, you know, that didn't work for me. Doesn't mean it's not a strategy. Doesn't mean there's anything fundamentally wrong with us. Like, I loved how you mentioned if you went to a doctor and they said, well, I'll just chop off your left leg because it worked for me. Their leg was gangrenous. And you might just be like low on calcium or something.
Yeah.
But the other thing with that too is when someone teaches in that way, so like back in the day, not proud to admit it, but I dabbled in the MLM world. Like, yeah, each their own with your thoughts about it. But I remember going along with excitement to these presentations that they give, you know, where your friend from high school that you haven't seen in 10 years sends you a DM and suddenly wants to be, you know, that's a whole other story for another day. But I remember going along and this lady was like, I just did this, this, and this, and now I'm a double blue, platinum, whatever, and I have a residual income of 50,000 a month. It's sexy. Like, there's no reason. Anyway, all that to say, so it's like, okay, so I just do this. And then when I just do this, I didn't get anywhere near the response. What we didn't factor in was that they already had a social media presence of like 80,000 followers, and they already had a successful career as something else. So we're not looking at what is the person bringing to the table, past experience, past exposure, all this sort of stuff, versus as I was at the time, a new mum who wanted to bring in a couple of dollars to the family. It's like, then we just become a cog in a very big, uneven looking pyramid.
Very true. And I think I think people go straight to blaming themselves. They try a thing and they're like, it didn't work, it must be me. Or is it just the wrong strategy for you? Or do you just not have dual income and or you didn't have a family member give you a starting investment for your business? Like I had a therapist say to me once, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. Like, you really don't know where people's starting points are when they're starting a business. And if you've tried a strategy and it doesn't work, it's probably not your problem. It's probably not the right strategy for you. And I would say that for my business too, and the things that I teach. I try to teach in a way that can be universally beneficial to anybody who comes my way. But I have a Rebecca brain, and I'm going to organize systems in a Rebecca way. So not my system is not going to work for everyone. It works for a lot of people, but nothing can work for everyone in this world, because we're all even our brains are structured differently.
I love that so much. And also, it might be the strategy. We tend to go straight to self-blame. Like, I didn't try hard enough, or I didn't follow rules enough, or I didn't. And sometimes it's kind of like, is the system set up for you? Like, if the first step one is message 100 people, I'm a freaking introvert. I don't know 100 people. Like, not
Right.
enough that I'd actually message and say, hey, or want to meet for a coffee? No, I live my life online. So it's kind of like, is it set up to succeed for you? Are you a fit for that strategy? But also, back into the topic of marketing versus serving, I trust that everyone listening to this, has the service-based business, or you're doing something that you love, whether it be, acupuncture or pet communication, or I don't know, like whatever it is. Sometimes when you go to like a traditional marketer for help who doesn't actually understand what it is that you do, and says, yeah, so you just go to a lot of in-person networking events and hand out your business cards, and you're like, but I work online. Like, they need to have a kind of basic understanding of what it is that you do, is, because not every strategy is going to work for every business model.
Absolutely. And flip it around, because a lot of I often have local businesses like acupuncturists and massage therapists and just people who work in person trying to have a really robust digital marketing strategy. And I'm just like, why? You don't need to reach the World Wide Web. You just need to reach Portland. Like, go talk to people here. Like, go to other businesses. Like, it's not going to be the same strategy from business to business.
Yeah, and that reminds me of the other thing you said, comparing your insides to other people's outsides, or your whichever way around you had it. I probably butchered that,
Oh,
but
that's it.
um when you see someone doing a strategy that works for them, like, I have a daily show. This is day 314. It works for me. I love it. I am very short form content. I have a short attention span. I like hitting record every day. I find it fun. I don't like to script. I don't like to edit. This is how we go.
Yeah.
Other people who prefer to go deeper and, longer, might instead be more benefit to do one episode a week, then maybe chop it up and make little reels, or repurpose it as blogs, or like, there's other things that you can do. There's no right or wrong, but you've got to give it a go. As you said, sometimes there's value in throwing spaghetti at the wall. Give it a go long enough. Like, how many times have I tried that once. I
Yeah,
posted
right.
one video and it didn't go viral. But the thing is,
Yes.
imagine if it did. I had a few episodes back Kristan Kershaw on the show. The episode's called "We've Heard About Vitamins, What About Minerals?" And she spoke about a post that she had that literally went viral. It got so many shares and reshares that Facebook capped it. The last she saw the numbers was something like 20 million, and her page boomed. But it wasn't the flex you think it is. Like, go and listen to the episode, but it was like, how many of these people weren't a right fit, or how many people were calling out or disagreeing or trolls, or there's a whole other side. Like, so I think sometimes we think we just do the one post and we'll go viral, and forevermore our business will just take care of itself.
Yeah, no, and you could have a post go viral, and then someone could come visit your Facebook page or Instagram page, and you haven't been consistent leading up to that post, that video. So they don't really know what you do and who you serve. So the likelihood of them following you after they see that post is a lot lower. And the likelihood of them being a right fit client is a lot lower. So it's not, the viral video is like a happenstance that you can't predict. But what you can predict is continuing, and this is another conversation for another podcast, but is continuing to talk about what you do and who you serve and what you're passionate about on a consistent basis. But that's another
Yeah,
conversation.
one last thing before we wrap up, as I say, you looking in my window. When I was very early in business, I got something published for Huffington Post, which was like,
Mm.
oh my gosh. But then when people come to look for me, which they did, I was very early. I had no website. I had no clear. It's like, so this thing is amazing, but like, who is she and what does she do and what's next? And so there was kind of like all this effort and whatever into creating this piece that then. So I'm not saying hold yourself back and don't pitch and don't write and whatever, but have
Right.
at least a landing page so people can collect email addresses or, something. It doesn't need to be pretty. Like I'm the, quick and dirty kind of person, but
Yeah.
something that there is a next step once people have come across you so they can at least, follow through with that. Because yeah, it was a big lesson for me. It was like, oh, lots of things being potentially lost here. So
Yeah.
Rebecca, we covered a lot of ground in 15 minutes. What do you do and where can people find you?
Sure. So I am Rebecca Van Damm. I'm a content strategist. I work with purpose-driven small businesses taking down inhumane systems, and I help them take up the most space online. And you can find me at RebeccaVanDamm.com, which is RebeccaVandamm.com. And if you click on offerings, you can see what's coming up. Soon this month, actually, content cultivation course is coming around again. So please do click on that. And it is a 6-week intensive to help small purpose-driven small businesses have a consistent online presence, even if they hate social media or feel strapped for time. So please do check that out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Catch you on the next one. Bye for now.